pivotal time in humanity's evolution, we are beginning to remember our organic technology. A technology, when used correctly, can create an experience that the majority of the people the world over want to live. It is time to use this technology consciously for our own benefit and healing, and no longer unconsciously for our own demise. We are multi-dimensional creators, creating both our own personal experience and our collective experience moment to moment. We invite you to join us as we reawaken this technology through experiment and experience our power to create and manifest.
Hello and welcome everybody to this week's Collective Imagination Show. I'm now coming to you from the Gold Coast in Australia, and Michael is still there in Florida. Excuse me, Florida. How are you, Michael?
Doing good. Glad to be here.
Just a heads up to everyone, we're only going to be here for an hour today due to circumstances in Michael's new abode. So just for the next couple of weeks, or the next, maybe even just this one, I'm not sure. It'll be for an hour. So we probably won't be doing too much talking before we move into our meditation, but because that seems to be going for about 40 minutes these days.
Yeah, we could probably
So
talk
last
half hour, and I'll make the meditation a little more compressed. If we'll just see how it flows.
those of you who were with us last week, hi George in the chat room. So for those of you who were with us last week and you're in the chat room, just wanted to ask what your feelings were after last meditation. Initially it felt good, and it didn't feel as sort of intense or heavy as we thought it might. But as the week played out, just wondering. And in terms of bringing all of this to the forefront, in the days following last week's show, I became aware of the same situations, the same stories, the same organized rings in regards to this pedophilic and satanic activity that was happening right where I lived up until Monday, and had been going on since the 70s. And this included, and I remembered this happening at the time because it was only maybe 10 years ago, maybe not quite. The mayor of Wollongong was murdered. He'd had his throat cut and his penis removed and a bunch of things. And it was done by somebody who claimed to have been abused by him. And this young guy's sister also had her boyfriend murder another politician from the area, local politician. And it came out in little bits and pieces at the time, in the way that unless you were really watching, it was kind of probably difficult to connect the dots. But there was a journalist in Sydney who, investigative journalist, did an incredible job of putting this all together. And turns out what they've uncovered is just huge. And there was a royal commission on it. There was a whole bunch of things, but this is still pretty active from what I can tell. And went from Sydney down to where I was living. And that was just one of a few things that just came to my attention in the immediate days after last week's show. And yes, George is saying that I feel we really need to face this satanic crap. I don't think we've got a choice anymore, George. I think it's just coming up whether we wanted to or not. And I think the big thing is to not be frightened of it. I mean, we're horrified by it, but not to be frightened of it. Because as Michael keeps telling us every week, love is the most powerful force there is. And we stay in that space. There's nothing to be scared of. Thoughts, Michael?
No, I mean, I'm in agreement. Reality does come from the inside out. I've seen it, so many times. And once your energy is activated, once you understand how it works, you yourself are shielded from experiencing things that are too far contrary from what you hold inside. So what we can do, or the best thing we can do, is enlighten other people as to how it works, encourage others to learn energy, and then use our progress, use our prowess with energy to help influence the collective to both change and to discover energy and soul mechanics. And, the more people that know how it works, the easier it gets. I think you're muted, Lisa.
Yeah, sorry, there was a plane going overhead, so I muted out. Was there anything you observed as a result from last week?
Well, I had a moderate surgery that I went through, so I was in healing, so I wasn't really paying attention to anything on the web or anything. But yeah, I was. Go
Speaking
ahead.
of surgeries, though, how's your elbow?
My elbow's a lot better. I've pretty much got full range of movement. I can't quite extend it all the way, but I can bend it in all the way. And, it's pretty much pain free. I still can't like lift heavy objects, but doing really good. Thanks.
I think it's garbage collection time. I think that's what's going on out here. Okay. So the other thing is, I mean, CCN Network has a really wide range of programs. And from alternative news coverage to more spiritual shows. But what we've seen in the last couple of weeks, and certainly in the last week, is events happening around the world that would normally, in my observation, have been hushed up. But the world is going absolutely crazy right now, and world leaders are going crazy right now and doing and saying the most outrageous things, which would often be, tucked away in the back page of a newspaper or just ignored altogether. And it's not, including mainstream media, picking up on and talking about. They might not be phrasing it in the same way I am in terms of they've all gone nuts, but the stories are being reported on, and the activities being reported on. And so I think we are seeing more transparency in the media, is the point I'm getting at. They just don't seem to be able to ignore the stories they could ignore not that long ago. Because maybe it's because of the pressure of the alternative media, because the alternative media covers everything to the point where, their silence is deafening when they don't respond. And I think, Biggie and Mel and CCN are playing a big part in that. The more outlets the alternative media has, the more pressure gets put on the mainstream. It's just the way it is, I guess. So I feel that our activities here every week are having an effect, and it feels good to be physically, energetically doing, as opposed to sitting back and just watching what happens.
Yeah, and everything has there's multi-dimensionality behind, like every single thing is connected. There's not one single thing, and that includes events that are not connected to every single other thing. When you get highly in tune and deep meditative states, you can see how you're heartbeat is connected to everything from the birds chirping to the cars driving down the street to the songs playing on the radio. There's not one single thing that's not connected to every single other thing. It's just a question of how thick the connecting thread is. So whenever we're doing work like this or any sort of work, we're always going to have a definite effect. It's like the butterfly effect is very, very real. So there's always going to be multiple reasons, but what we're doing is big, and it's going to manifest through many different channels. Like we're pretty much changing mindsets, and then those changed mindsets go into action. That's where we get the results.
Sorry, my mic wouldn't unmute then. One of the things that came up on the One People show yesterday, we touched on a lot of the New Age stuff and calling it out a lot of the time. And I know you remember this when we were doing the collective imagination shows in the beginning, and we would set an intent halfway through a 2-hour show in conjunction with the audience, do our meditation, set that intent, and usually within 24 hours, sometimes within a couple of hours, and even once or twice before the end of the show, some galactic source was making an announcement about what they were going to do. Do you remember?
Oh, yeah.
And it got kind of crazy. And how the Olympics was obviously the big one. They did that before we even finished the show. And bringing, I think what that did was that shattered a lot back then. It got people to realize, I think, that the power does lie with us, and the ability to create change and manifestation lies with us. And we were kind of able to call out the frauds as we went along by seeing who was reporting what in alignment with our manifestations and creations and intents, and even the wordings that they used. Once or twice they quoted us. They quoted our meditation. And it was a great way to go, okay, phony, phony. We started calling them out then. And I think that is what is also unfolding right now in a big way. This whole breakdown of the New Age and anything that puts focus, energy, attention, power outside of yourself. That all of that programming is starting to unravel. The savior meme, the savior model, and it doesn't matter who or what that savior may be, what it's wrapped up in, whether it's ETs or religious and biblical characters, or I don't know, your ham sandwich. I don't care. It doesn't matter if it's out. That's what's being completely, in my mind, unraveled right now in my observations. And I'm all for it. Feels good.
Yeah, it does. That's all connected in too. I mean, there's a chance, like sometimes when we do manifestations like this and a channel comes in that, it's not necessarily that they're phony. It could just be tapped in, synchronistically, like tapped in. We are the stars, like literally. People have seen that little picture, that goes around that shows a picture of the universe, and then it shows a microscopic zoomed in like slice of a neuronic network in the brain, and it's the same exact thing. When you become highly connected, you can see, feel, and experience quite clearly that the stars are an echo of our brain. They're like our extended mind or our divine mind. You can even find the star's location within inside of your head, and with accelerated energy you can do all sorts of neat things like cause them to change colors, vibrate around the sky, and other people can see it too, because the universe is, just like we've been told time and time again, is literally an extension of ourself. Um, you,
Michael, call me a cynic, but I'm not convinced at this point that those photos that we see
uh,
are not, in fact, images of neurons of our brain or irises or cells or any other part of our internal workings. And then we're told that it's a photo of this galaxy or that planet or whatever. So that's just me being my little cynical self right now. I'm having that moment.
that's all right. I've just seen through,
I'm not saying that it's not out there and it doesn't quite look like that. I'm just so
yeah,
I don't know if that's necessarily where the photo's coming from.
yeah. The pictures, not my proof. It's the experience.
Yeah.
I've just, I've experienced it on a constant basis. But the stars can be experienced as worlds when we project out of our body. They're like pinpoints of intelligence or data collection points within the collective mass mind. And when you're out of body, you can experience them as worlds, and they're like variations on Earth. We all have a presence there in every single star world. It's something that I teach quite frequently, that a person will find out that they're from the Pleiades or they're an Arcturian, and it's the truth, but it's only partial. Like we have a presence in every single star world or star configuration. Is a much more accurate way of saying it, because like I said, these are like grid points in the mass universal mind, and of which physicality, life on Earth is the center of. And
You're actually touching on something which is starting to click with me in regards to the interview that I did on Monday.
yeah,
And this is, I'm not going to say anything about it now, really, but other than to say, for those who watched it, if this is a closed system, then I think what Michael's saying might even be more evidence of that. Okay, I'm going to work on that. Leave that one with me. Um, hmm. Sorry, you just got my brain turning and it went off in woo over there somewhere. So there's something I have to follow up on. Um, okay, I don't want to feel like we have to rush through the meditation. So I'd rather let's do that and then have a chat at the end if we've got time.
okay,
Yeah.
yep.
So we're gonna leave last week's subject alone for this week. Um, Michael's put that request in, and I'm happy to honour it. Just to let it be for a week. So we go back and we work on reinforcing what we've already done in regards to media and financials. Um, is there something else you would like to do instead?
No, that's fine, and reinforcing our own abilities of connectivity between ourselves and everybody getting their own life and their own situation in order. Um, and I always want to reinforce that reality does come from the inside out, and we have to be the change that we want to experience, and then we're basically cleaning up any portions of the outer mind, any parts of our being that might be in disagreements with that in the mass mind. So yeah.
Okay. I will turn my camera off and my microphone off and let you roll with it.
Okay. Everybody have their feet planted firmly on the ground, about shoulder width apart. Get that spine nice and straight. The most common hang up is in the solar plexus area due to how hunched over we are in our daily activities, from our cell phones, computers, whatever. We just tend to be hunched forward. So you really arch your back backwards, roll your shoulders a few times, get everything nice and loose, and really stick your chest out like you're strutting. I mean, that spine has got to be nice and straight. Take a few deep breaths. Close your eyes. Okay, now we're going to merge the heart with the head, or more like the head with the heart. And I'm going to invite you guys to completely leave behind the logical mind and go into the emotional, feeling, and sensational mind. I've bridged the gap between the two so well from all the energy work that I've done over the years to where I can still talk and communicate in word thought while I stay connected. But you guys don't really have to worry about that. I'm going to encourage you to just observe what you're feeling emotionally and in terms of sensations, vibrations, temperature changes, electrical conductivity, things like that. The more you're able to focus in on sensations of what you're feeling, the more you get drawn into the now moment, which is where the point of power is. Um, all of word thought, word based thinking is based in past and future, or the energy of past and future, which exists more in the outer layers of ourself. The now moment is located deep within. Past and future are out here. When you get really good at projecting out of your body, you'll see that clearly. That to travel through time means that you go further out from center. The further out there you are, the less power you have to change things. Though you do gain an access to certain information streams, your ability to change those actual streams lessens and lessens because you're getting further away from the source. The source is always within, towards center. So when you pay attention, when you acknowledge and hold on to what you're feeling, instead of thinking about it, you get drawn deeper within the self, deeper within where the source lies. So, with those eyes closed and the breath nice and steady with deep breaths, I want you to merge your head space with your chest space. And that's as simple as realizing that the two are one and the same thing. You can feel your head, you can feel inside of your head, you can feel your chest, you can feel inside of your chest. So, quite obviously, consciousness is present in both places. In other words, these are both areas of your mind. Everything that we've created here in the physical reality through our experience has been divisional. We've been dividing our mind, our consciousness, into different parts, and labeling them and experiencing them different ways. The body is the mind, the feet are the mind, your hands are your mind, your heart is your mind, your head is your mind, the air is your mind. There's nothing ultimately that is not your mind or your consciousness. So wherever consciousness is present, there's no space separating the two. So I want you just to take whatever presence you have in your head and drop it down into your chest area. If you'd like, you can use a visualization that your chest is like a warm frying pan and your head is like butter melting down into it. Just start letting all that presence that you feel in your eyeballs, in your head space, by your ears, your cheeks, start letting that all melt down into your chest. When you get down there, you're going to find an immediate increase in energy, because that's what connects you to myself and the group soul that we're forming and that we've already been forming through the past shows. You'll see the energy is very solid, very thick, like water. When you begin to feel that greater level of energy, view it as being yourself. So whenever you feel any of these sensations from the meditation, don't view it in terms of, oh, I'm feeling the energy, or I'm feeling cooling sensations, or I'm feeling electrical tingles. That's a mental barrier that basically says that it's not you, that you're feeling something that's separate from you. Instead, I want you to become whatever it is you're feeling. And once you do that, that's how you place your consciousness literally within inside the energy, because now your mind is accepting that you're feeling yourself. Okay, good. I feel you guys really strong right now. Now we're going to begin to amplify this with a series of in-breaths. Breath does a lot more than just move air through the nostrils. That's just what it does in the physical spectrum. In the energy spectrum, it actually is it's a tool of locomotion, the same way that the hands are. Like, you can use your hands to direct your energy and your consciousness. Well, we use the breath the same way. So I want you, through imagination, to realize that your breath is like everywhere. It's like 360 degrees, like an encompassing sphere that's all around you, that you can use to compress energies inward or expand them outward. For now, what we're going to be doing is enveloping ourselves in our breath. So it's like your lungs become the whole room. And on each in breath, we're going to be pulling the energies as well as our consciousness deep within ourself. On the out breath, you just release air. So you don't want to have your breath connected to energy on the out breath, just the in breath. And we're going to do about 3 very powerful in breaths to ramp up the energy. So exhale all your air now. Thought form your lungs to be the entire room around you, and begin a long, slow, contracted inhale with me now. Now unhook the breath from energy and just exhale air, so that you hold all of that energy that we gathered, all of that presence that we brought closer to the source. Okay, exhale all of whatever air you're holding now and do a repeat. In breath now. Unhook from the energy and exhale air. One more in breath. Okay, now just keep that pattern up throughout the rest of the meditation. On every inhale, you're going to be pulling in energy from 360 degrees, as well as contracting your consciousness. And on every out breath, you're not going to be giving it any emphasis or any focus. That this is going to be pulling our consciousness closer and closer to the source, as well as holding to ourselves any of the energies that we've gathered from the source energy that radiates out. Okay, now from within this contracted energy, I'm going to begin to expand our presence outward into the air around us. To make my presence a bit more known, I'm going to begin to rock back and forth to the left and the right. I want to give a brief explanation of how it is that we're connected for those that are new to this. Basically, all of space and all of time is a mental construct. It's our brain's way of decoding slight variances in vibration. This entire universal construct is from a singular standing wave of vibration that contains all frequencies. We are all consciousness, and we are all the entire thing. We are merged with it. But within our body forms, within this source energy, our brain decodes little variances in vibration and paints a picture of space and time for us. So a slight difference in vibration might tell you that you're in your room in France, or that you're in your room in Australia, or wherever you are. But the true metaphysical fact is that we're right on top of each other. My body is inside your body. Your body's perfectly overlapped with my body. The air that you're breathing is perfectly overlapped with the air that I'm breathing, because in actuality, the physical reality is entirely a mental construct. We are in that standing source wave of vibration. So we are all right on top of each other. Now, knowing that, it should help you make sense why you're able to feel me as I start rocking back and forth to the left, to the right. And I'll keep doing that a few times. Now, as I do this, I can feel the friction, like a rubbing of our soul energy of our bodies. And as I feel this, you guys are able to feel it too. and it makes us more aware of each other's presence and strengthens the bond between the group soul that we're forming with each other. To give even more sensation, I'm going to begin to rock forwards and backwards as well. Okay, good. I feel about 200% more presence from doing that, so we've got a really nice solid connection right now. Okay, from here I'm going to go back into pure group soul, so I'm going to let go of my individual distinction within the group soul and just help us with these in-breaths to bring us closer to the source and to contract even further the energies that we've generated. So I'm going to go quiet for about 30 seconds. Okay, now as you guys know, the point of these meditations is to make our world a better place. Reality does indeed come from the inside out, so it is not possible for us to assist in making our world a better place if we are not the change that we want to be from within. It's metaphysically impossible. So what we want is a world of transparency, or one of truth, where truth is the guiding factor behind all things. We want transparency, we want truth, we want honesty, and we want greater amounts of understanding between each other, greater amounts of love. Now, these things are not possible unless we hold that within ourselves. So, as I said on previous shows, um, you need to make a commitment to yourself to living life in this way, to always speaking the truth. And that includes white lies of convenience. You know, telling somebody something that isn't quite true just for a matter of convenience. You know, it may seem like just a little thing, but if you are acting contrary to your truth that you know within yourself, even if it's slight, then it damages the crystalline structure of your throat chakra. Like it literally weakens it. So if we're going to have truth and transparency in the external world that we experience, we have to hold that within. So if you've made this commitment on past shows, I want you to go back in and renew that commitment. If you slipped up or erred a little bit from it during the week, I want you to immediately forgive yourself. You know, at worst, when we slip or when we do things that are contrary to our nature, we should feel a little bit of guilt and nothing more. You know, we should never really be too hard on ourselves. Just the fact that it makes us feel off a little bit is enough, because we just want a little bit of an indicator to help us make that change. So if you did slip a little bit on that, if you were not truthful, if you weren't acting in purity, if you were, you know, less than an understanding or a loving being, I want you to forgive yourself, thank yourself for recognizing that instead of lying to yourself and pretending that you were, and just move on and recommit yourself to it now. If you're new to the show, I want you to make a commitment to living life in that way over the next week. Now, within this commitment of purity contains a feeling. There's a feeling that's associated with it. The colors that are most often associated with truth and purity is a mixture of white and blue. Now, when we combine these colors, you're going to start to feel a cooling energy, almost like air conditioning radiating throughout your body. When you do, latch onto that feeling, become that feeling, and you'll see that it gets stronger. what we're doing at this point is we're crystallizing our consciousness. We are vibrating our energies to a speed so fast that they begin to seem solid, like, as solid permanent structure, and that's due to the speed of the vibration. As everybody knows, crystals are the highest vibration within the mineral kingdom, and that's why the faster something's vibrating, the more often it's observed as always being there. That's what gives it the impression of being solid. So as we do this, as we compress, as we contract, as we purify, our consciousness begins to solidify, which means we literally begin to crystallize, which means that we cool off. It feels blissful and radiant. It feels very clean, sparkling. Cling to these feelings once you get them. Hold them. Once you feel coolness radiating through you and you're able to hold it, take it one step further by thought forming or imagining ice, like that you're frozen, encased in a blue-white glacier of ice inside of your body and outside of your body. I'm going to begin to take our consciousness out into the air and begin to crystallize the air around us as well. So if the air is crystallizing, it's going to become very thick. So it's going to feel like the air is solidifying around you. It might even feel like it's harder to breathe, but don't let that bother you in any way. It might even feel like your heartbeat is slowing down, and well, it is. And you are breathing more energy with each breath because the air is getting thicker. So that means you're getting more nourishment for your body out of each breath and out of each heartbeat. Okay, now that we're well established within our group energy and well within our feeling of purity, we're going to begin to expand our consciousness. I'm going to go to the outer layer of the bubble of energy that we form, and I'm going to open it up. And when I do, we're going to draw in the portion of the human collective consciousness that we refer to as the media. To do this, as I've explained in past shows, is as simple as using psychic symbology. So whatever symbols you relate to the media is what's going to effectively connect you to that portion of the human collective. So it could be logos of major news stations, it could be names of major news stations or newspapers or radio stations, it could be the names of famous anchormen, it could be the names of puppet masters that you know are behind the scenes working this. Whatever psychic symbology that your consciousness relates to the media is the very symbol that's going to connect you. So when I open the hole, I want you to begin to sort through that psychic symbology and use it. And once I open up, we're going to use our magnetic inward energy, our love from our upper chest, our high heart, and we're going to draw that into our crystal. Okay, I'm going out to the outer edge right now. And open the hole. So everybody reach out with your psychic symbology and pull in the media. Connect it to your in-breath and pull, pull, pull. Okay, now I'm going to seal it off so that nothing can escape. And as you can already tell, my face instantly broke out into sweat. There's all sorts of movement going on within us, and that's the variance between that portion of the collective and our group soul energy and our commitment to purity that we've made. So the idea here is to hold it and to love it, using love as a force, and don't let it escape. we force through love, through gravity, whatever we've brought in to conform to our pattern. And don't be dismayed by the heat. Don't be dismayed by the friction. Keep using your in-breaths. Keep thought forming your blue-white ice crystal. And you'll see that the motion begins to become less and less, that the heat starts to go away more and more. So I'm just going to go quiet while we all do this until all the motion within us ceases and we all return to that nice, cool, clear, blissful bubble. Almost there. It's a lot better. Now, another symptom that you guys might experience as we do this is the release of gas. Whenever there's a conflict between energies, like gas can literally be created. So don't be surprised if your intestines gurgle or if you end up burping or something like that. When you do, that's a good sign that the variance in energies has been compressed or is being compressed and brought into harmony with our crystalline energy. Might even feel little pockets of air like popping within your lungs or pressure being released in your head. Those are all good signs that we're integrating and harmonizing. Almost there. Okay. Now let's just relax within the purity of our group soul. Keep shining the blue and the white. We're just going to recoup and regain our own sense of strength and purity before we reach back out to the media. So just relax into this for about 20 seconds. Now I'm going to begin to reach back out and open up our bubble to draw in the financial portion of the human collective. And once again, any psychic symbology that you relate with the financial collective is going to suffice for connecting you to it. Could be money signs, it could be just you flashing symbols of like USD, AUD, Japanese yen, it could be names of major banks or financial institutions, it could be logos. Could be names of puppet masters that you know are behind financial stuff. Whatever your consciousness associates with financial area of the human collective is what's going to suffice for connecting. So once I do, we're going to do the same thing as we did with the media. We're going to do a series of in-breaths through the high heart using it's like a 360-degree hug. The way I described that the lungs become the whole room. You're using love as a force while surfing through your psychic symbology and drawing everything in. Okay, so I'm going to go out now. Open up our bubble. Now use the psychic symbology, connect to the financial collective, and pull, pull, pull. Keep pulling, keep pulling. One last big one. Okay, I've got it sealed off now, so just stabilize the movement. Wherever you feel motion, apply stillness. Wherever you feel heat, apply cold. And keep doing the compressive, contractive in-breaths. And keep holding everything with the force of love until it stabilizes. Getting better. Almost there. I'm just still feeling quite a bit of heat in the upper centers, like by the forehead and the crown. Help me cool those down. Good. Yeah, I felt the assistance like right away, so good job, everybody. Okay, now I want to reinforce for listeners that are listening to the archive that even though you are forwards in time from the date of this broadcast, that you are still very much a part of this. The same way that I described the physical world being formed from variance and vibration, the same thing is true with movement through time. And we are spanning that gap. The type of consciousness that we are entering into is beyond the space-time construct. So I just want you to know deep within yourself that you are equally as much a part of this meditation as those of us that are here in the so-called present. It's all one great now moment of vibration that our brains are sifting through. So now what we're going to do, like we do at the end of all of these meditations, is we're going to hold the group soul energy and let each individual use it for what they need. What you have to understand about being a part of a collective instead of standing on your own is that the energy of the entire group is available for each individual to use for their own personal needs. So by all means, use it. If you need healing for yourself, if you need healing for somebody else, if you need help with a manifestation in your life, if you would like an increase in your metaphysical abilities or more access to universal energy, whatever it is, now is the time to claim it. To do this is as simple as putting the desire for what you want within your heart. You'll notice that as you go through your thoughts as to what it is that you want, like let's say that your mother is sick and she needs healing. Well, as you think about that within your brain, you will notice that that desire has a feeling. So for whatever it is that you want, sift through it mentally through your thoughts, find the feeling of it, and then place that feeling right behind your breastplate in your high heart, and just hold it there for as long as you can. I'm just going to go quiet for a couple of minutes and let everybody adequately use the energy. Okay, everybody can open their eyes and come back out of it at whatever speed you're comfortable.
There we are. How'd that feel?
Good. Pretty intense at a couple moments. This time I felt a lot more tension within the media than I did the financials. I don't know if that was the same for everybody else, but there was like I immediately broke out in sweat, and there was like, all sorts of heat and turmoil. But as always, love wins. Gravity always calms things down, stills things out.
Last week you felt the financial, or some sectors of the financial, come willingly.
Mhm.
Did you notice that again this week?
I didn't really, nothing like that this week. I was paying attention to see if more of that happened. For whatever reason, at least, in my perception, somebody else as a part of the group might have perceived it differently, but I felt um, either the financial was less resistant, or we didn't tap into the financials as well as we did the media. One of the two, possible to say.
Okay. How was that for everybody in the chat room? Wakey, wakey. Okay, George felt more tension in the media as well.
All right. Thanks for the input, George. How'd you do with the cold energy this time? Like I felt like a decent amount of the audience tapping into it, which makes it easier, for this cool or the crystallization to occur. So I'm just curious.
I'm not as wiped out personally at this time.
You get better and better at being within that energy and not having it. It's like the source is infinite, but the willpower to use the source is not. So that's why we get tired initially when we do energy. But the more you get used to playing with source energy, the less your willpower gets drained when you use it.
Okay. All right, we've only got a couple of minutes left. I felt more cold than ever tonight. Is that what you were? Is that what you were asking? Yeah.
Yeah, George says I felt more cold than ever tonight, and it is very warm here in South Florida. So good. Yep.
So what does that mean?
We have this thing within our human consciousness that cold is bad, warm is good. Well, like either hot or cold is bad for the human body, because the human body itself is in a prefix state of vibration. So, but we just have this thing within our psychology that there's something that maybe cold energy isn't good, or vampires are depicted as having it. But anybody who's actually experienced it knows that it's quite the opposite of that. When you get into an energetic state and your consciousness starts to transcend temperatures beyond the human body, you see that cold energy is solidification. It's blissful, it's radiant, it's clean, it's pure. Whereas, when you go into fire or heat, there's a lot of tension there. Fire is powerful. It can be used in creative ways, and I'm not labeling either one as entirely positive or negative. Hot energy can be used negatively, cold energy can be used negatively. But cold energy itself represents solidification, it represents gravity, it represents particles being more magnetized, having more desire to stick to each other. So cold is an aspect of, if you want to apply sexuality to it, it's an aspect of feminine energy. It draws things together, encourages things to have less friction and to be closer. So.
Okay. I mean, I guess my earliest memories of associating anything with the cold or the heat is being told that, when you get a cold shiver or you walk through a cold space, that it's, touched by a ghost, or, you'd walked through a ghost and something scary. That's funny. Okay. Well, as we said, this is only an hour for today. So thank you for that. I'm actually almost a little bit charged by it rather than wiped out this week.
Yeah,
although it's making me yawn. There is that stuff still. So maybe not as charged as I thought, but I don't feel like I just want to go to sleep now, which is good. Thank you. Let's see what unfolds over the next week, and keep an eye on the media. Deborah also felt more struggle with the media. But then again, her media vista was much more expanded this time, especially the so-called alternative media. Heart and mind throbbed till it stilled. Okay. Well, thank you all for joining us again, whether you're here live right now or whether you will be watching in the archive. We're all in this together. So See you again next week. Bye for now.
Bye bye, guys. Always a pleasure.